Hello and welcome to today's special event, Getting Started with App and Desktop Virtualization, the Hands-on Lab presented in partnership with VMware. Thank you so much for joining us. This event is going to be a little bit different from some of the other events we do here at Actual Tech Media. The cool thing is that this is going to be 100% education and demo focused. So our expert from VMware will be walking us through how to use the VMware Hands-on Lab, taking you through it step by step, and then answering your questions live. Before we get started, you should know that my name is David Davis of Actual Tech Media, and I'm glad to be serving as the moderator. As always, we want these events to be educational, and we encourage you to check out the Handouts tab. It's there that you'll find special links on VMware's EUC solutions that you'll see here on the webinar today, and also a link to walk through this lab for yourself step by step. So you can follow along in your own web browser. There's nothing to install. It's completely free, and you can do exactly what you see here in your own VMware Hands-on Lab environment. It's a great opportunity for anyone who wants to try out VMware's EUC solutions for yourself. At the end of the event today, I'll be announcing the winner of our Amazon $300 gift card door prize. If you're watching this on demand, of course, the drawing has already occurred. And we also have our Amazon $50 gift card best question prize as well. Of course, you have to ask a question to be entered into the drawing and meet the Actual Tech Media prize terms and conditions. And with that, it's time to kick it off. I'm excited now to bring on today's expert presenter. Welcome, Mr. Tom Biella, EUC engineer at VMware. Tom, it's great to have you on. I'll hand it off to you.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. So we're going to be covering our VMware Horizon Getting Started with App and Desktop Virtualization, the Hands-on Lab 2151-01-DWS, right? Long name there for our Horizon lab environment, right? And we're going to go through and get you situated and understanding a lot of the wonderful technology that we have behind our virtual apps and virtual desktop technology itself, right? So straight into it. Again, my name is Thomas Biella. Again, I'm a staff solutions engineer here at VMware. I've been with the VMware commercial team for about 8 years now. I'm kind of a rare bird because I've actually been with this one team my entire career, right? But I've definitely seen a lot, right, from a Horizon perspective. Actually was a former co-captain for one of our previous hands-on labs. Here we're looking at the 1851-07 Advanced. This was back in the old Horizon 7.1 days called Operational Concepts. I was very passionate about that lab, so much so that I co-captained it because we were seeing that a lot of Horizon customers weren't knowledgeable of the advanced pieces, especially group policies that we give Horizon customers, so they can actually use a lot of those settings to just optimize their environment again. And I became very passionate with that. So co-captained that, did a nice expert-led lab in VMworld 2017. And again, was just super excited to get that information out to our customers, right? Again, I've got a great background, again, in my 8 years here of dealing with thousands of small and mid-sized companies interested in and having implemented Horizon, right, during my career here. A little more background, actually was a virtualization admin for a large nonprofit here in Texas. We covered some really unique use cases in that job. One of them was kind of interesting. We actually had a mobile Horizon environment. They would actually take this mobile environment to different venues using little thin clients to connect to the Horizon mobile environment for registration, right? So it was kind of exciting to see, kind of extend out Horizon and see what it could do, right? And take it from venue to venue and see it work, right? So it was really something kind of cool to see. Also, I live here in San Antonio, Texas. So hands-on labs, right? What are we really doing with these guys, right? How is it really designed, right? Hands-on labs are really designed to be modular, right? So you as attendees should be able to sit down, enroll a lab, select whichever module you want to run without that having to be forced into taking any other modules in sequence, right? A really kind of an exciting way to implement these labs. Now, this is kind of a soft rule, right? There are some labs that do need to be run in sequence, right? But our captains actually do a very good job of putting in scripts into the hands-on labs so that if you needed to run module 4 before running module 5, you just come into module 5, run that script, and you're all caught up, right? So we do a good job. They did a great job of being able to handle, again, being able to be flexible in running whatever module you want, right? These modules usually cover a couple of use cases. They're these types, right? They're use cases which really tells the business story, right? Or the benefits regarding why a product or a group of products is well suited for a solution, right? Or what you're going to see more today, features and functions, right? Type of modules that basically tells about the product and generally more of a guided walkthrough on how that product works, right? Now, that's a big number, right? Less than 6 hours total, right? Might be a little more like 3 hours, but these modules can take some time, right? And just walking through what you'll see is our kind of our guidebook, right? Walking through that and stepping through each one, taking a break, and then going back into that module and then successful modules as well, right? You may have to take that lab several times, right? Just to keep up with it, but that's okay, right? The labs are versatile, right? So that, again, you can catch up to where you need to be, right? You should have your documentation available to you right now. If not, you can also download the documentation so that you can use it as you need to, right? So what does this look like, right? If you kind of pop the hood, right, underneath the hands-on labs, right? We use vCloud Director, right, and run on actually several clouds, right? Actually, I think it's up to 5 different clouds that we actually present our hands-on labs, right? Our lab has a number of layer 1 VMs, right, that are running in the base virtualization, what you're seeing here, right? And most of the times you won't see those VMs, right? So we're talking about the ES6i, everything there. You're seeing kind of in the center, right? We also run a number of layer 2 VMs, right? And that's the crux of the lab, right? That's where you're doing all your work as far as each of those individual components, for example, for Horizon are concerned, right? We also have different networking constructs, which where we have various networks exposed to the VMs, and then everything is sitting underneath on a base network, right? That's on our virtualization layer, and then we use a virtual router to network all that together, right? To kind of show you some of the stats, really kind of exciting stuff that I have here on our particular lab, right? The 2151, right? So from a layer 1 perspective, right? 7 VMs, right? 21 vCPUs, 1.07 terabytes of storage, right? 81.5 gigabytes of memory, right? And from a layer 2 perspective, right? 14 VMs, 22 vCPUs, 51 gigs, 431 gigs of storage, right? So really shows you, you can imagine the amount of resources that it takes to run this at scale, right? But we definitely have designed our hands-on labs to handle that, right? Especially like at a VMware world where you're just suddenly spinning up all these labs, right? At the same time, again, we have those 5 clouds to kind of help us mitigate that. But it's very resilient and very adaptable, right, to those loads coming in. So focusing in, again, a little more on that, again, the lab we're working with, again, the 2151, I'm going to focus in on these 4 modules. Now, hopefully I can get to module 5, but a lot of it's going to be centralized around module 1, which is, again, creating a desktop pool. This is, again, our basic overview of Horizon. What is this? What are desktop pools? In the midst of that, there's an interactive demo. I won't be going through that. It's a great walkthrough to, again, tell you how to get and basically work with and create a desktop pool. And then we're going to go ahead and I'll step you through adding what we call an entitlement, basically the rights to run that pool, right? In module 2, I'll skip into what's called RDSH farms using our technology called instant clones. So RDSH farms, really what we're talking about here is another technology called Horizon apps, where we're laying the foundation for virtualized applications, right? There's a really good interactive demo with that one as well. I won't be covering that one either, but I will explain a little bit around that, and then definitely walk you through the load balancing features for the Horizon farms themselves, right? Finally, it'll logically just run straight into module 3, where I'm going to show you again how to create the application pools from those RDSH or Horizon apps, application servers, and then we'll create something exciting, which is really I have a passion for, is the VM hosted application pool. Some really cool technology that I talk about on a daily basis as far as a virtualized app is concerned, but from a little bit from a different back end, right, as opposed to RDSH. And again, I'll jump into that later, right? And again, finally, module 5, integrating Horizon with Workspace ONE access. So you will hear a lot about Workspace ONE with VMware and our end user computing line. This is why I'm bringing this in here, is that we definitely have integrations with Horizon and Workspace ONE access, which is basically our gateway, our single sign-on gateway from an HTML5 platform into Horizon and into actually other resources as well. Some exciting stuff there. So what you're seeing now is our hands-on labs, right? So gaining access into your hands-on labs. Hopefully you logged in with your email address. Again, the email is not used for spam at all, trust me. So we just give you that login so that we can track what you're doing inside of hands-on labs, right? We create what's called a transcript here on the left-hand side so that when you log back in, you know which labs you've already taken, or if you want to go back and take that same lab that you did, 3-6 months ago, you don't have to go searching for it, right? You can just come to your transcript and go ahead and run it, right? Now, our lab is actually going to be inside of what we call a digital workspace, right? And that's here on the left-hand side. So you just click onto this, and that will get you to your actual digital workspace based labs. Now, you can also do a search if you wanted to here in the search bar. If you click on here and you do a search for 2151, you can certainly do that. Click enter, and that will get us our lab as well. If you want to say, look, I want to find all my Horizon-based labs, I can do that as well, right? So just a couple of different ways to gain access, again, into the lab itself, right? Please do note that we also have an updated version of the Horizon getting started, right? You'll notice there at the bottom it says 2251, right? So this is the VMworld updated version. So you'll notice there's a new flag on it that says new, right? You can definitely take that one at your leisure, right? It's probably going to go over some more new features as well. But again, my focus is going to be on the 2151, but definitely wanted to call that out just in case you say, hey, there's another one there. Again, we're constantly updating our labs, again, from VMworld. So this was the update as well. So just to let you know it's there, right? And you can click on to your details if you want to kind of get an idea of, hey, what is this lab about? If you click on read more, you'll get an idea of, hey, here are all the modules that are available to me, right? Even before I even jump into the lab itself, right? So again, this is where, again, you'll see my focus is going to be on those first 3 and hopefully that 5th one as well, right? Launching this, pretty easy. What you're going to see is this button is going to say either enroll if you've never enrolled in the class, in the lab itself, or enroll again, right? So what we'll do is we'll just click enroll, and then we're going to go ahead and click on start this lab, right? We're not going to do anything as far as inviting or anything like that. So it's going to now instantiate or start to instantiate what we call the vPod, right? Now, if you get your browser compatibility, you can certainly do that. But I would say let's just go ahead and click on start lab, right? So that's just a compatibility test there in the background, right? So what you're seeing now, again, as I mentioned, we've got the vPod spinning itself up in the background, right? All of those layer 1 and layer 2 VMs. Here on the right-hand side is definitely our manual, right, that we can utilize. There's some great information here I'm going to give to you. Now, this may take a little time, so do give it a little bit. You'll eventually get your what we call the control center monitor, right? And that's the managing VM for all of the other VMs that you're going to be accessing in the lab itself, right? So here it is. It's nice and available to you, right? If I kind of click on it a little bit, eventually, again, I can get some status there on what's going on. So a little explanation as far as, or a little guidance on the actual manual itself, right? So here we click onto table of contents. We have a great way of being, again, able to jump to the lab that we want to use, right? So for example, if we wanted to jump straight into module 1, I can just click onto that. Notice in the background that this is already switched over to that page. So if I'm going to go straight to the introduction for Horizon, in the background, it's leading me to that, right? So the table of contents, very important, right? To allow you to get to the manual or the part of the manual that you want to work with, right? So here we are in Horizon, and this is where we're going to start. A little bit more on just the manual itself. Again, we can do a floating window if we wanted to. We can close this out and bring it back up if we needed to as well. Some really cool information here as we move through and gain instructions in the manual. There may be pieces where we need to type something into the environment from the manual itself, as opposed to typing it all in. Maybe it's a script, right, that our captains want you to add in. What you can do, really cool, is if you highlight that piece, right, you can actually then drag and drop that into the environment. So let me kind of show you what this looks like. Now this text README file is really important, so I'll talk about that too. This has all of your admin logins into the actual environment itself. So if you needed to say, hey, what's the admin login into vSphere or to the Horizon console, right? All of that's here. So make sure that that README is there for you, right? But just to show you, again, what we can do if we needed to add something into the environment. It's a long script as opposed to typing it in. What we can do is we can grab the administrators, right? And we can put that in here, and there it is, right? So it typed it out for us. So you don't have to type that in into the environment, right? So that just goes right in, and you can continue on in the manual, right? So for the moment, I'm going to say don't save, right? So this is a nice one. I recall telling many of my customers when I was in supporting them as a proctor at VMworld, hey, this is a nice, easy way for you to work with the lab, right? To be able to input in what you need from the actual manual into the environment, right? So the environment itself, the monitor here that into your control center, we've got a couple of things that you can do to make the experience a little more easier on your eyes. For example, you can maximize this, right, to bring this up so it's a little easier to read, right? You will note that, unfortunately, when you do that, it does take away your timer, right, to show you how much time you have left. Again, we are timing the labs, right, in the background. So if it says, you know, hey, it's going to be 60-minute lab, right, we're kind of timing that here. But we do offer a way to extend the time. Let's say you're doing some really complicated work and you had to step away. It just, I needed some more time. We can actually extend the time as well. Click on this little button. We'll extend the time for you, about 15 minutes, 30 minutes, and you get a couple of these, right? So that you can do. But again, some nice ways to bring this up. You can make this full screen as well. You can dock and undock the actual screen itself if you needed to. Finally, if you get some weird errors inside the lab, hey, the screen is all green or just doesn't look right, you click on this refresh and it will actually refresh this environment for you, right? Which actually leads me to a really good point here. You'll notice here at the bottom, looks like a BG info type of call out here, but this is really important. Make sure that your lab, when it's once you've got your screen here, that the lab status is green, right? Now, if it's red, it's probably going to tell you it's doing something in the background. Now, don't worry, right? Don't panic. Just give it a few minutes, right? Sometimes it does take a little time to bring up the layer 1 or layer 2 VMs, right? I usually give it about 5 to 10 minutes. And if this status doesn't go to green, then my recommendation would be to simply end the lab and then try again, right? Re-enroll. But once you're at a green status here, you are ready to go. So let me talk about Horizon itself, right? So a lot of the information here is going to go over what I'm going to talk to in general as far as Horizon, why consider Horizon, etc. Horizon itself is, again, our virtual app, virtual desktop technology. It's actually built on top of technology you're probably already familiar with, good old vSphere itself, right? Our brokering system, the virtual desktop technology, again, is all building on top of vSphere constructs, right, that you're already familiar with. Perhaps you're familiar with, right? DRS, HA, right? Distributed switching, all that wonderful stuff from a vSphere perspective, right? We're just adding a piece to it, the ability to create virtual desktops, right? And create them very quickly. And that technology is called instant clones, right? So instant clones actually comes from vSphere itself, actually brought out in the product in version 6.0 U1 and above, right? Horizon, we take advantage of that technology on the back end to create our virtual desktops from a actual master image, right? So in that master image, right, what we're doing is we're going to create pools from that master image, right? And there are certain advantages to using our pool technology. If we click onto this image here, we're going to slowly go through this here as we kind of traverse through the modules, right? So again, we're focusing in on our desktop pools, right? So again, the advantage is that we can update our pools very, very quickly, all of the desktops, by creating a single entity, right? A pool of them. So if we needed to update all of them at once, we just simply update that pool, right? As opposed to each individual going to each one, one at a time, right? And again, that technology, once we have that set up, we're good to go. Again, we can do updates as needed through updating that master image. Now, there are some things that we'll do in creating this desktop pool. And I believe, yes, we do talk about the instant clone technology here, right? So this is basically what I had talked about before as far as getting this up and running, right? What the technology is. Very important though, here on the bottom is the optimization piece, right? With Horizon and that master image, you want to make that ready for consumption, right? As far as a virtual machine is concerned. Windows 10 by default really is more hardware designed, right? We have basically an optimization tool that you can run that will help create that image and optimize the image for you so that it's lean, mean, ready to go inside of your virtual desktop technology. We've got some links here. You may want to take a look at that on how to do that optimization, right? Again, I've got our interactive demo here. Again, I'm not going to go through this. Kudos to my colleague, Josh Spencer, for doing a fantastic job. This is going to lead you out to Tech Zone, and he's going to do a fantastic verbalized walkthrough of actually creating the instant clone desktop pool. Please take some time to jump into that if you'd like. What I'm going to do is actually kind of give you a walkthrough of what that's going to look like, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump into Google Chrome, right? And I'm going to go ahead and maximize this a little bit here. And I'm going to jump into our Horizon admin console. So I'm going to click on Horizon up here, and it says Horizon 01 admin console. So you want to click onto that, right? And once you're inside of Horizon, right, what you want to do is we're going to go ahead and log into the environment, right? So we're going to go ahead and type in administrator and then our password. And the passwords are common inside of the Handson Labs. We always use VMware, that's capital V, capital M, WARE, one, and then exclamation point. So let's make sure I got that right. One exclamation point. Very good. And then we'll click sign in, right? And that's going to bring us into our nice HTML5 based admin console. So Horizon definitely has a HTML5 console. There's no Flash-based console, what we call the Flex console. Previously in older versions, it's all now based here, right? And in creating a desktop pool, very simple, right? We follow a wizard. So if you've just gone through that interactive demo, it's a bit of a repeat, but again, it's worth kind of looking at just to show you how easy it is, right? To create that desktop pool. We just simply click on add, right? We go to great lengths to make sure that you understand what you're creating, right? We got these little help bubbles, right? So you just click onto that to understand what you're creating, right? And we just go, next, right? We go next. Hey, what type of pool are we creating? Is this an instant clone pool, right? Again, what I mentioned before. There's some other technologies that I didn't really talk about. These are actually now what we call legacy technologies, meaning that they're no longer available. So with perhaps that new lab, the 2251, you probably won't see this because the newer versions of Horizon 8, we have no more callbacks to link clones. We are all instant clones now, right? But basically, it's just a matter of walking through this wizard, right? Are we doing any type of, how are we assigning these? So these are floating, meaning that whichever desktop you get, right? We can even do dedicated where you get the same desktop every time, right? But most of our technology is kind of pushing us towards that floating type of assignment. We're not doing any type of vSAN or anything like that at this time, right? So we just click past this. And then we would go ahead and enter in our variables for this actual pool, right? Once we've got that done, it will go ahead and create our desktop pool. So I'm just going to click into this existing one to kind of show you what's going to happen. Once you've created that pool, it's going to actually start to create this in the background. So I go to the vCenter server section. What you'll see is that there'll be a little counter here that counts up from 0% to 100%, right? And you can refresh here at the top, right? And once you've got to 100%, basically it's already then created your virtual machines. And if you click in here under virtual machines, instant clones, or default, you should see if all is good, they say available, right? And they're ready to go. So from here, what I'm going to do is I am actually going to follow the actual lab guidance here a little more. In the second step here, we're going to add what's called an entitlement to the desktop pool, right? Fancy way of saying we're going to give rights to whoever needs to run this actual pool, right? So I'm going to step back here for a second. I'm going to click through. Again, our little arrows here allow us to click back and forth. We've already launched our console, right? We're good to go. Here's our instant clone pool, right? And then we're going to go ahead and add an entitlement, right? So we're going to click onto this little button here. I'm going to click on entitlement, and we're going to say add entitlement, right? Brings us to the add screen. Again, kind of clicking through. And then we're going to add our person in, right? So we're going to go ahead and add Jimi Hendrix into the environment, right? So notice I double clicked, right? I'm going to click and drag that into the environment, and notice it typed it in for me. Isn't that great? Now notice it added a couple of spaces in there, so I'm going to backspace out, but we're going to go ahead and then click find. Hey, there's Jim, right? Fantastic. We're going to go ahead and click onto him right there. Now notice that you probably have to scroll down a little bit, see that OK button, right? Click OK. Hey, there he is, right? So again, following the instructions here, we'll simply say, this is the guy we want. So Jim has now access to that pool. Maybe he's got some virtual music software in there that he needs to run, right? So now he has access to it. So we're just gonna validate, again, that we have him as an entitled person, right? So we go into our entitlements, right? We can see that, hey, there he is, right? And that completes this particular exercise, right? So we've created our desktop pool, right? So we're gonna jump into our module 2, right? So I'm going to click back here and go back to my dashboard. And so our next step is, great, we've created a desktop pool. Can you show me virtual applications? How do you get started with that, right? So we're gonna actually go into module 2 with that, right? So again, the idea around virtual applications in Horizon is surrounded around, again, what's called Horizon apps. We're building on top of RDSH farms, right? The classic term is terminal services, right? So we simply add in our agent onto the RDSH farm, RDSH servers, and allow us to, with just a minimal set of roles, to be honest with you, nothing complicated, allow that farm to be created, right? So again, that's all we're doing is adding our agent in and creating these farms, right? So that, again, as you kind of click through, again, it'll give you that formal name of Horizon apps, right? So again, from that full image we were looking at before, right? This is where we're focused in on in this particular module. Again, we're creating now these RDSH farms from and using our instant clone technology, right? So as opposed to using it to create instant clone desktops, we're creating instant clones RDSH servers, right? So we can actually be very dynamic, right? Very scalable with RDSH farms, because as we grow, right, we can branch out these farms very, very quickly by simply telling the environment, hey, we need more servers in that pool or in that farm, and just by adjusting a number, it will expand that out, right? So great for like mergers and acquisitions, right? We can expand as we need to with the RDSH instant clone farms, right? And so again, we have a wonderful video here if you want to take a few minutes to kind of view some background on that. And again, we've got a fantastic interactive demo for that. Again, kudos to Josh on that. I won't go through that, but again, if you'd like to go ahead and take a peek at that, please do. What I'm going to do is jump through and actually look at balancing, do some load balancing for that new Horizon farm, right? So we're going to jump straight into farms, right? So this is that newly created farm, right? Ready to go, instant clone. And now what we want to do is actually do some load balancing with it, right? So we've already done some of the pre-work here as far as logging into the environment is concerned. Gonna jump straight in here. We've got our RDSH farm. It's already built. We're kind of looking at the details, right? Fantastic. And then we're gonna kind of go down to our load balancing settings and notice that we don't have anything set right now, right? As far as any type of settings are concerned. So this is really kind of exciting stuff. I love this in that we've caught up a lot in this technology where we can actually do this inside of the actual admin console itself. It's not something that's necessarily scripted, right? We can actually come into the load balancing settings. We can actually say, look, as opposed to using scripts, I want to do these type of load balancing settings here inside of the environment, right? I want to limit it by count, or hey, if you reach, 90 on the CPU threshold, or 90% on the memory threshold as well, right? That particular server basically becomes unavailable and they are load balanced to a new server, right? So if you just click in 90 and put in 90, click OK, right? That's successful. So if we kind of go down here, you know that the settings are automatically added in. And so we kind of gone through and kind of rushed through adding that, but it's definitely now been added into the environment. So we now have wonderful load balancing for our farm. The next module is our module 3, and this comes naturally as far as virtual applications are concerned, because we've got our RDSH farms. This is fast. I'll be honest with you. It is really easy. Once you have all this set up, creating virtualized applications is then just a snap. I'll be honest with you. right? In creating these pools, again, we're looking at this phase here. We're creating our application pools. You'll notice if you click into applications, you'll notice we already have a whole bunch of apps already virtualized, right? We're going to go ahead and kind of walk you through, again, putting in an application. So again, we've kind of stepped through most of this. We're going to actually add a new application. I'm going to show you how easy this is, right? Click on add from installed applications. Here's your RDS farm. And notice we've already tapped into all of the applications themselves using a technology called WinTap, right? So we want to go ahead and virtualize Internet Explorer. I can start to type that up here. I'm going to go ahead and use the Internet Explorer here. I'm going to highlight it. And then I'm going to go to the bottom here and I'm going to click next, right? I'm going to give it a name, right? This is called Internet Explorer. And I think the instructions tell you to give it a different name. I think they call it Web App 1, right? For that. So we'll just call it Web App 1, right? And then we'll just click submit, right? We'll go ahead and do what's called an entitlement. Again, who gets to run this? Again, we're going to click on add. Again, we can double click inside of here. We don't necessarily want to type that out. I just want to click and drag. I'm being lazy. And here we go, right? That's our user. And then we'll click on down here, click OK, and then click OK. And that user now has the rights to run that app, right? And it was called, again, that Web 1 app, right? Actually, it's Internet Explorer Web 1 app here. And that's what it's going to look like, right? And then we can go in, we can actually edit that pool so that that particular web app, right, is going to point to a particular website, right? And the instructions here, they're telling us, hey, we want that to go to this particular site, right? So again, we're going to highlight that site. We're going to grab that, bring that into parameters, type it out for us, right? Click submit. And now Web App 1 goes directly to TechZone, right? Kind of cool, right? And then we've got a second application pool that gets created. If you want to go ahead and do that, you certainly can. Again, for time's sake, I'm just going to go ahead and show you that this actual pool actually works, right? Now that's Web App 2 that they created. So I'm going to just pause there for a second, and I'm going to show you what this looks like really, really fast. I'm going to open up a secondary tab. So I'm going away from my actual manual here. I wanted to show you, hey, let's go ahead and click onto, VMware Horizon, right? This is what we call our HTML access for Horizon. So I'm going to click onto this, and I'm going to use that user 1 mod 3, right? I'm going to go ahead and use that password, the VMware 1 exclamation point, log in, and hey, look at that, right? I've got my applications, and there's my Web 1 app, right? When I click onto that, it's going to go ahead and launch. Oh, yes, I know. We must go ahead and proceed, and it's going to go ahead and launch into our tech zone, right? I think we have this set up locally. Labs don't have internet access, so just as an FYI, again, we're launching IE in the background there, and this is IE running underneath this browser as well, and there's our digital workspace tech zone, right? So again, kind of exciting to see that. I'm going to log out real fast and show you this one last piece, what we call VM hosted apps. Now, this is an exciting one for me. I love this technology. This allows us to create virtualized apps from virtual desktops. So let's say you've got apps that don't play well under a server OS. We can use VM hosted applications to run applications from a Windows 10 desktop. Now, the exciting thing is that's built into our pool technology. We can just actually come in and change an existing pool to not only offer up virtual desktops, but it can also offer up virtualized apps, right, inside of the environment. If we go to our pool settings and we jump down to session types, I can offer both desktop and applications. Now, this is not Windows multi-session or Windows WVD, but it's just our way, Horizon's way of being able to say, look, if you have apps that are peaky, they don't run well on server OSs, they need to run on a desktop, I can actually do that, right? And again, once we've told the actual pool that you can do both desktops and apps, right? We can now come in and actually create a virtualized application from that desktop pool. I click on add and go to add installed from apps. Notice I can now choose a desktop pool. I can come in, it's going to tap into, again, using WinTap, into that pool. I'm going to simply type in WordPad, right? Here it is. Click next. I'm going to go ahead and submit and make the display name VM. So that's running from a VM, we'll call it VM10 for Win 10, right? And click submit, right? I'm going to add, I'll just give everybody rights to it, right? I'm going to say domain users, right? And I'll do a find. Hey, there's our domain users. Again, scroll down. So usually can't see that okay. And then we'll click OK again. Now, what we'll do is we'll go ahead, launch the Horizon client, right? So we'll double click on this Horizon 01. We're going to log in as user 1, mod 3. We're going to go ahead and give them the password. And you'll note that we have, hey, WordPad from a VM Windows 10. Double click onto that, and guess what? I'm actually now going to run Windows 10, just as a virtualized app, from a Windows 10 backend, right? And that should eventually come up here. Again, following our instructions here, we've kind of done everything we needed to do to get into Horizon to kind of show you that, again, that actual Windows 10 based virtualized application. And then they do some cleanup work here as far as editing the pool and bringing you back to a steady state, right? But there it is. That's a Windows 10 based application, right, running in the background. So fantastic. That gets us through module 3. We finished up with module 3. I'm going to just lightly touch again on what I feel is a very important module. Again, module 5, right? Again, the integration with Horizon and Workspace ONE Access, right? As I mentioned, this was our way of integrating Horizon into our single sign-on portal we call Workspace ONE Access, which allows you to create that single sign-on environment from really any device. It could be a mobile device, it could be iOS, it could be a Chromebook, etc. Right? You log in, and you'll have all of your Horizon resources available to you, plus any SaaS applications your company may be using. If that's like a Workday or into SAP, etc. Right? The user just comes into that single portal. They just click in, and they've got single sign-on using our SAML 2.0 technology into those particular resources, along with what you have in Horizon. The lab does a really great job of covering that. I would definitely have you go through and do this at your leisure. I'm kind of almost at time here, but definitely wanted to at least introduce that to you. We even go into setting up the SAML piece as far as Horizon integrating with Workspace ONE. Do give that a try. I think you'll find that of interest. And please, finally, if I could just call out what we call our just-in-time management platform. I'm not going to go over that today. The Dynamic Environment Manager and the app volumes are the final pieces to our just-in-time management platform. Again, please find some time to do that, perhaps at a later date, but it's going to be well worth it for you to kind of jump into those technologies. But really appreciate all of your time and patience today. Thank you so much, and we'll kind of continue forward.
All right, great presentation. Really love that demo, that walkthrough there of the VMware Hands-on Lab. Tom, it's time for some questions. You ready for some Q&A with the audience?
Thanks, I'm ready.
All right. Yeah, so we've got a lot of great questions coming in, and I know we've been responding to those as quickly as possible. Let's see. Here's a good question from Matt out there, who's asking. One question I have had before for RD hosts: is there a way within Horizon to make sure users don't have to create new profiles on each connect?
Such a great question. What we do to resolve that is actually use a technology called Dynamic Environment Manager. And that's why I called that out in the lab for that particular module. You definitely want to take a look at that. What DM will do is allow you to capture those individual settings on the server, right, on for each session, and allow the user to say, look, I just been load balanced to another server. What DEM will do, Dynamic Environment Manager, is it will import those settings that the user has kept right into that session. So to the user, everything is the same, right? Toolbars that they may have kept, special inside of applications, other network settings like the printers or drive mappings, all of that is kept consistent. So regardless of whichever server they're load balanced across, DEM will allow them to keep that experience consistent.
Very nice.
Great
I like
question.
that. DEM. Next question here from Michael. Does the app pool run locally on the system or some other backend like a Citrix session?
Also, great question. It is actually running on the back end, right? As far as the app pools are concerned, that is running on a RDS server. The old term is terminal services, right? So we kind of do the same thing that Citrix does, right? So it is a session, right? That's running off of that server.
Nice. And then maybe here's a kind of a high level question. What's the difference between Horizon and Windows 365?
Yeah, Windows 365 is a new offering that Microsoft has as far as being able to get a cloud-based VM, right? Now, there's some real restrictions to that. Please be aware of the offering. It is compelling. With Horizon, we offer both the ability to do on-prem versioned virtual machines, right? Windows 10 systems. We can also do them in the cloud as well. So we offer you hybridity with Horizon. So you're not just saying, look, we're only going to have cloud. No, we can do both on-prem and cloud if we need to.
Excellent. Yeah, thanks for clarifying that. Here's another one. Richard is asking, so without link clones in Horizon 8, does that mean our licensing will go up due to the instant clone licensing?
That's a great question. Now I have to say that I would have you contact your VMware sales rep on that. There's no price increase per se in that. I'll have to amend that, right? It depends on what you're currently running, right? Right now, a lot of our customers are running what we call perpetual licensing for Horizon, and that is slowly changing. We are actually moving to more of a subscription-based licensing. There are some changes in pricing. Again, I would have you contact your VMware rep to make sure that they can get you the best possible pricing to move to that new subscription-based offering whenever your term actually comes time to renew. So that's how, again, I would probably answer that. But technology-wise, we've definitely moved away from the older link clones to more instant clones.
Got it. Okay. And then Rami, I guess is how you say it. They're asking, can we download the lab manual in PDF?
I haven't seen the download, but I do know in the lab environment, you can do split screen, which will then allow you to bring it either onto a separate tab, or you could actually use a separate device that, for example, could be an iPad mini, right? And you could have the actual manual running there while you have it on your monitor. So you can do it a couple of different ways. And I'm sure you could get around that once you've got the manual in, for example, a separate tab. You could always do a print to PDF, right, and cheat that way. So sure, but I don't believe we have anything built into the hands-on lab environment to just download as a PDF.
Okay. And then here's an interesting question from Casey. Is this hands-on lab something I can provide to my customers or use as a demo? I assume this is available to everyone out there, right?
It is. It's a great question. In fact, I use the hands-on labs in some of my demonstrations to my customers as well. So you can definitely use it as a demo environment to show off the different technologies. And again, not just limited to Horizon. I'll um, salute my other technologies out there, vSphere, NSX, everything you think of is in the hands-on labs, and you can demo from those and, as you mentioned, give it to your customers and allow them to play with it as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm a big fan of the hands-on labs personally because you can access really every VMware technology and solution out there anytime from a web browser. Try it out, get some hands-on experience, and learn step by step with the lab manuals. So let's see. Here's another good question. Can Horizon offer persistent desktops as well as non-persistent desktops?
Yeah, great question. It sure can, right? We can actually do what's called dedicated instant clones now. So grabbing some of the use cases from the old link clone technology, we cover that again with this newer type of technology called dedicated instant clones. So we can actually make the desktops more persistent if we need to.
Got it. Okay. I like this question. What if I do something wrong in the hands-on lab environment? Is that going to bring down everyone's hands-on lab?
Oh, that's That's a great question. I loved being a proctor for hands-on labs because I would get that a lot. Customer would say, "Oh my gosh, I just crashed the lab. What do I do?" The beautiful thing about the hands-on labs is that all you need to do is end the lab, and it will basically deconstruct everything, and then you can restart the lab again, and it constructs it all over again for you so that you can jump right back in and again use that table of contents for your manual to jump right back to where you were and keep going.
Very nice. Very nice. I want to remind everyone there in the handouts tab, there are links to the VMware Hands-on Labs, which is completely free, the VMware Hands-on Lab guide for this lab that we walk through, and then PDFs that you can download for VMware Horizon, VMware Workspace ONE access as well. So let's see. Next question: what should I do if the lab status is stating that it's not ready or in a red condition?
Great question too. If after, let's say about 5 or 10 minutes, that doesn't go to a green ready state, then most likely the lab itself in spinning up some of those level 1 or level 2 VMs may have missed something in the script. That's okay. Again, you'll just treat it as if um, something had occurred in lab. You just end the lab and then restart the lab again. And that should get you into a green state 9 times out of 10. What will happen is you're actually then launching from a different cloud as well, because we have multiple clouds assisting us with the hands-on labs. And perhaps you may have gotten just an instance that just wasn't ready, right? But as soon as you restart the lab, you should be good to go.
Excellent. And then let's see, they're asking here, can you run Workspace ONE Access Portal from a mobile device?
Great question again. Yes, you can. I actually demo from an iPad 2 Mini 2, the actual Workspace ONE Access portal, and can access a variety of resources, Horizon on-premise, Horizon cloud resources, all single sign-on. I could do it from an Android phone. I actually did that in demoing at Dell World. One of my favorites was to show my little Samsung phone and then go to my Workspace ONE Access and then launch into a virtual app or virtual desktop.
Nice. Very nice. All right. Well, let's see. It looks like we're running out of time here in our webinar presentation slot. So I'm afraid we're going to have to wrap up. There's a lot of great questions. We appreciate everyone's questions. Hopefully we got back to everyone. Tom, it's been a pleasure having you on the event today. I learned a lot, and I'm sure the audience did as well. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much for your time. Appreciate it.
And of course, thank you to VMware for supporting today's event. I encourage everyone again to check out the handouts tab there, and that's where you'll find links to try out VMware Hands-on Labs for free. Download the VMware Hands-on Lab guide or access the VMware Hands-on Lab guide, and download the VMware Horizon and Workspace ONE solution briefs. Make sure that you do that before you go. And of course, it's now time to announce the winner of our Amazon $300 gift card. This is going to Walter Scott from North Carolina. Congratulations. And we'll be reaching out to our best question prize winner as well. Thank you to everyone who joined us on the webinar today. Again, check out VMware Hands-on Lab and learn more about VMware's app and desktop virtualization solutions. Have a great day, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.